Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this edition of Defacto Review. Good evening to Mr. Jorgal.
Good evening, everybody. And we now also start our program on Facebook live stream. You can watch it from anywhere you are.
Let's see what we have to discuss for tonight.
Economic crisis, standby loans versus China loans. For the first time, Prime Minister Rittenbuck is visiting Japan. Audit report of Development Bank of Mongolia. Deflation and its risks.
Good evening again, everyone. That's our four main topics of discussion for this week. Let's start with the first topic, which is the ongoing economic crisis in Mongolia and what Mongolia should do about it. So, the finance minister, Mr. Chojil Surang, has stated that currently the Mongolian officials are on the roadshow to try to issue more bonds on the international market. And the finance minister stated that his plan is required, economic recovery plan is being formulated and submitted to cabinet last week. And this plan also needs to be discussed in the National Security Council as well before it goes to Parliament. So I wanted to discuss obviously this economic crisis, which everyone, the entire country, the people and the officials are talking about. So let me give you a couple of number of statistics. The current economic growth is at 1.3% in the first half. Our budget deficit is at 2 trillion tugriks as of September. And one also important economic number is our inflation numbers, which is currently in deflation for the second month. So on an annual basis, deflation is at 0.1%, 0.6% just in September. So September is the second month in a row we have deflation. And Mongolia's foreign debt stands at $23.5 billion at the moment, of which $8.5 billion are government's foreign debt. So, Mr. Jorgal, obviously this is a topic of conversation for everyone, and what Mongolia should do to try to come out of this economic crisis. So a number of options are being floated in the media, which is first of all the IMF standby program, and one other thing is should we borrow money from China again, or try to borrow money from our other important partners as well, of which is also Japan, which gave also money to during the 2009 crisis. So tell me what kind of steps that Mongolia needs to do to get out of this debt crisis that we have. Is IMF an option, or China an option, or should all of them be an option?
Well, each of them separately and all together, even the three, are not long-term solution. Mm-hmm. This is kind of emergency step, because we cannot pay the debt, foreign debt, also domestic debt, on time. They're by all means trying to find out additional source of money, mm-hmm. which nobody is going to present, which we are to borrow in any case. If we go with IMF, this is certain conditions that more disciplines Mongolians, the Mongolian government, with stronger, most needed reforms, not much spending carelessly, more devoting every penny for every tugrik for better efficiency, mm-hmm. which requires a rule of law, which creates competition, which increases productivity. Mm-hmm. And I don't see much in this front, or middle term and long term case. But this emergency approaches that we try to describe is, as we agreed first, the finance minister is on the way to promote new bonds. which most probably will be around 10%, which is 2 times more than the initial 5 years period before.
Genghis bonds, yes.
Genghis bonds. Which is the less probability of having enough fund the government needs. And this government needs about 4 to 5 billion US dollar to pay on time, to cover the budget deficit. It's a lot of money. So this is most least possibly, probably making great collecting money road. The other road, the IMF and the IMF, with the IMF, many countries like Japan and other development international institutions would come with IMF.
Not just IMF.
Yeah, not just IMF, because the condition that we agree to the conditions that suggest IMF, the country will be more than less on the road to recovery, on the road of rehealing. But with the third way, we talked about IMF way and the capital market way. The third is China. And surprisingly, all our leaders are in these countries right now, right? And in China, I think there will be less conditions, more money initially. And the conditions and demand will come when the next time when we are to pay the time, then we will go again. If things don't change it, then we go again, please give me more money. Then that will be a different conversation.
So you think that if Mongolia agrees to an IMF standby program, IMF doesn't just give money alone, it also other countries give money as well. So like last time, Japan also gave money along with the IMF program.
In fact, that was the promise of the Japanese government when the Prime Minister visited. We will talk about in more details after this topic. So with the IMF, it is IFC, World Bank, Asian Development Bank. So all this major international, probably EBR, they may go a bit. So altogether, we may raise more than $1 billion, which is still not enough to cover even the cost. So we are in difficult situation. And as a Mongolians, we should think in parallel way. One is this emergency approach, the other is longer version. How to deal, how to go out from this permanently happening economic crisis in the country, which is mostly caused not only by international market, but also, and in a lot of cases, majority cases, I think, caused by political situation, bad governance, corruption, frequent elections. That's all this together, combined together. So now we are spending more time borrowing. Now we are spending more time who had given the money, how it was spent, etc. So it is all around this money that we have borrowed. Nobody is working on how to get it paid and what is the best way for Mongolia to pay back.
So this is an interesting time because our speaker is currently in China right now, obviously probably discussing what China can do to help us get out of this crisis. Second fund, our finance minister said that there's a roadshow going on to try to raise money on the international commercial market. And then the IMF team will arrive in probably this week, to assess the situation. So it looks like we have all 3 options.
But however, all 3 options cannot go at the same time.
That's
we should understand clearly, and I wish the government officials do understand that clearly too, because with the IMF conditions, then we cannot borrow too much money, or a certain amount of money without their permission, because we are under certain conditionality. We get loan from IMF. Of course, IMF as a lender, kind of last resort lender, they are interested to borrow money, but because it's other countries' taxpayers' money too, they have to be very careful.
Okay, so important couple of weeks is coming up because this is the time we'll probably decide which of the 3 options we'll take, and obviously the best option for Mongolia is the IMF standby program.
IMF way, first. Secondly, we should, with that pill, we should take another pill. That pill is understanding of borrowing more money doesn't get the economy fixed.
Right.
It is just fixing the holes in a way. But IMF conditionality comes with certain methodology to fill those, to cover those holes.
Comes with the economic treatment plan or the healing.
Yes, the rest is not coming with that.
Right.
The international market saying that, okay, we do whatever you do, but pay me back on time.
Right.
Chinese money coming cheaper and without any conditions.
But we'll
do
find
whatever
out
you want. But
when
you
it's
will,
too late.
you will have this tough conversations afterwards. And we should. The second pill is more important than the first pill, just to covering our cost. No, the second pill is paying foreign and domestic debt with more debt doesn't solve any problem. In fact, it keeps the problem staying longer. At the initial stage, it's like Ulaanbaatar smoke. When smoke comes, we talk, we cry, we fight, everything, everybody is hero. In the fall. In the spring, when the smoke comes down, we forget it. That's like, I don't know, it's either our nature or what, but that's another question, I think.
Well, hopefully we'll use the opportunity and take this IMF program and try to fix the root causes of this budget.
The root cause is very clear.
Right.
This is governance. The risk of Mongolian debt, everything in the financial terms for any lender, the number one risk is Mongolian government. It's not stable. It always keeps changing. Not only the composition, but always the structure, depending on who is going to be minister or vice minister. They create new minister or merge new two and then get the one or three, merge three and then get four, etc. This is the governance instability creates weakness. It is not strengthening political and economic institutions of Mongolia.
Okay. All right, the next topic is the first foreign official trip by the new prime minister, which is to Japan. Japan obviously is an important third neighbor country and by far the single largest donor country to Mongolia. And we all know that recently the economic partnership agreement has come into effect from this spring. And this is an important visit for the new prime minister, being that it's the first official foreign visit to a foreign visit to a country. So let me give you a couple of developments that happened during the prime minister's visit. There was also an investment and trade and investment forum with 50 Mongolian companies and 240 Japanese companies participated in this investment forum. And a couple of major investment agreements, trade agreements were signed during this visit. The first, most important one, major one is Energy Resource LLC, which is the Mongolian subsidiary of the Mongolian Copper Corporation, listed in Hong Kong. But between Sumitomo Corporation, it was a memorandum of understanding on coal sales and marketing cooperation. As far as we understand, it's Sumitomo will help market coking coal from the Oaxaca coking coal mine to third countries, including Japan and possibly South Korea as well. Another deal signed was Tagan Cholut Consortium, which is also a mining company, signed an MOU with a company called Suzuki Shokai. There was also an interesting deal signed, which was a dairy product export deal, which is signed between a company called Dry Milk LLC, the Mongolian company, and Persai, the Japanese side. So Persai is now the exclusive distribution agent for the dry dairy products from Mongolia. So also the prime minister and the two prime ministers discussed furthering or deepening the Mongolia-Japan strategic partnership. And Prime Minister Abe has visited Mongolia 3 times after he became prime minister, which is quite significant. It's probably the most by a foreign leader to Mongolia. And Mr. Jargal, my question is, obviously Japan is a major important country for Mongolia in terms of regional partner, one of the big third neighbors. But the biggest problem we have with our relationship with Japan is obviously the trade deficit. Mongolia imports a lot of things from Japan, but Japan does not buy that many products from Mongolia. So tell me how this visit signifies the importance of these two relationships and how we can improve our trade relationships to our Mongolian advantage.
Japan is certainly third party, third neighbor, third neighbor, important country. And it is shown or proved by our three last prime minister visited Japan first. Abe, it was his third only visit when he became prime minister to foreign countries. So it shows how important are at this political level, the two governments find each other. In fact, Japan is called Mongolia as the most important partner in Northeast Asia. So political partner. So at the political level, things go very well. It cannot be even better. But in terms of economics, things stay still very modest. $450 million export from Japan to Mongolia, and only $10 million from Mongolia to Japan. 45, 50 times differences. There's a huge gap. And I hope the three memorandum, two of the memorandum, one is the agreement of marketing and selling coal with Sumitomo, as you said. The second is milk. That is very interesting factory. I was during that ceremony.
You were also with the Prime Minister's delegation.
Yeah. So very interesting thing, according to the buyer, Mr. Batirtin of Altai Construction, he said.
So Altai Construction is the parent company of dry milk.
Of the dry milk. And they buy that machine. That makes immediately, you put on this side input milk and output immediately dry milk or a powder.
Right.
That much efficient technology. And now, because you can easily operate anyway, and the Altai Construction at the end, as a father company, will be the exclusive dealer of that machinery in Mongolia.
So the technology is
yes,
is
by
Japanese.
Prisai or something.
Prisai is a
Japanese
technology.
company.
Okay. Interesting.
And now that may change the way Mongolian rural population live, because now they will not have a problem with transportation of milk.
Right.
They will do immediately, a powder is there, they buy and
the biggest
go.
issue we have in terms of our
And plus, remember the vegetarian issue. Vegetarian issue of the health of the animals, etc. Bacteria, all this is gone because it's so high temperature and everything's gone. The third factory that, by the understanding, a memorandum of understanding of battery production in Mongolia.
Okay.
All type of batteries will be produced in Mongolia, which is not easy, but if it is done correctly, we save a lot of money, right, for buying batteries abroad. So hopefully, I wish all these three companies do well. In terms of this coal marketing, it doesn't mean that they will not necessarily sell to other countries, because China is the closest and largest buyer. So it is a matter of marketing probably. I think they need still to work on to have one high quality coking coal brand from Mongolia, rather than each of the producers go there and they're killing each other with their prices. So that was I think in terms of business, what was good I observed. The other thing was, interesting point was, two prime ministers met also privately. After that, they made short press conference, in which our prime minister stated that he was thanking Prime Minister Abe for his generous support for Mongolian middle and long-term development policy. It looks like they will continue. Japan was always a partner indeed when we come in truly in sometimes in big need. Japan was always coming, and Japan will go on that. On the money front, Prime Minister Taro Abe met our Prime Minister, Finance Minister
Taro Aso.
Taro Aso, who's a deputy Prime Minister, by the way. He met to our Prime Minister, and during this, because they met also when they were both Finance Minister, and before, so they know each other, and then they met, and the idea was, condition was, you get this IMF conditions, then we will also help you.
Okay,
So Japan is committed when if IMF is here. So the particular word, I think the Japan Times was quoting that quote, the word generous support, the word, this is the word. And thirdly, exactly what you have said about this deficit difference between the trade balance between two countries. 2015, the country got about $1 billion worth Japanese car to Mongolia, about 39,000 cars, and 34 of them were mostly Prius,
right,
which creates now another problem in Mongolia, because Mongolia is right-hand rule traffic movement country. And it means you always, whatever movements come, traffic, transit, whatever comes, movement, then you go always keep your right hand, right? Japan left hand. But now when you have majority of cars on the right hand, we started to have more accidents. 2014, we have 11,000 about traffic accidents in our capital city, Ulaanbaatar, and 2015 we got 44,000. 4,000 increase, 4 times increase. And 60% of the cars involved are right hand, because those cars are not for this movement. So there we have last time talked about that more in brief. But in general, this sort of trade balances, the final question remaining is how to get Japanese coming to Mongolia.
Right.
It's an issue, size of market issue. So now probably they will come only if they can produce here, then export to Japan or China, either Russia. So what are those products? This is the Mongolian businesses to think on that. This is the puzzle for current Mongolian businesses. But there is a small, also not small puzzle with the government. It's an issue of transparency, issue of rule of laws, it's issue of consistency of policy. So there are several things to solve this issue, I think. But good thing is the ministers meet, the prime ministers meet, we go way ahead, and then we are more willing to go way ahead than to go back. So that was general feeling.
Well, that's sort of the uniqueness of our relationship with Japan. It's always moving forward. It could be moving slowly, too slow for some people.
Yeah,
but it always moves forward, unlike some of our Western countries, perhaps.
There are looks like certain things to correct, fix. They agreed to continue, complete faster this new international airport nearby to Waimak Center. And for that, Mongolians need to put a road on time to the airport. And also, this international new airport will be run by a Japanese company, management, for many years.
The name I've heard a year ago was the Narita International Airport Management Company, which is, the biggest airport in Tokyo. Is it Narita, or was there a different name mentioned?
I don't know exactly the company, but I'm sure one thing, that we will have more probability of having Japanese airlines flying to Mongolia if we have that standard of security, that proven standard of security of either Haneda or Narita. Whoever comes, I think, I'm sure that. And I think it's good because Mongolia can be a good hub for air transport in the world because our geographic positions.
Interesting. Well, the next important topic is the audit report of Development Bank of Mongolia. DBM is obviously the Mongolia's government-owned development bank, and a government working group, an audit working group, have made a press conference last week stating that there were a number of many irregularities with how DBM issued their loans. So the total, to give you a couple of numbers, DBM as of August has issued total outstanding loans equals 5.6 trillion tugriks. So this is 53.8% of it is payable by the government, and 46% of it is from the project revenue itself. So the Deputy Justice Minister, who was heading this audit working group, stated that irregularities was 1.3 trillion tugriks worth of irregularities in terms of loans that DBM gave. And the reason was that according to the development law on the Development Bank of Mongolia, every year in spring session, DBM is supposed to present the number of projects that they want to issue loans to, and they haven't done it. They've only done it once in 2000, I believe, 12, in spring session of 2012. And every year after that, they haven't done that, meaning that the DBM, according to the Deputy Justice Minister, has broken the law every year in terms of issuing loans to projects. And most of them, and he also said that there are a number of projects that even the cabinet hasn't approved. So the DBM issued loans on its own without even the cabinet's approval. So tell me, obviously, any country, to the development of any country, a development bank is very important. If you look at every developed or successful developing countries, you can find that they have a development bank, and it was crucial, key to how they became a successful country. So tell me how DBM has managed to even do this, according to what the Deputy Justice Minister is saying.
Well, first of all, like all other Mongolian economic institutions, it's a governance issue. It is not ruled by. It is not under the rule of law. That's simply this irregularity show. And out of 5.5 trillion tugriks loan, about more than 20% of our irregularity or mistakes or defaults, that shows the quality of governance. So why are we there? It's because there's no rule of law in Mongolia. These professionally or individually, I don't think these people were unprofessional or not educated. They were very quite talented young people I have seen as a top management.
Yeah, at DBM, yes.
But at the end, political impact of particular politicians were so strong that they had to follow, kind of enforced to do so many projects. So it again shows that if we're not careful, how much damage we can create. And you also should not forget that because they changed the government, new political forces there, they also tend to have seen the other side in a more blacker view. So there is that sort of dimension is there. But however, it cannot be all of them that fake. So that's why I'm worried about that large amount of irregularities. One. Secondly, what is the best way not to repeat that? For that, we need to check very clearly project by project. Then find out the particular people they should be responsible for that. And if it is politicians are involved, they should pay first of all, because they have enough money to pay. And then I'm talking about the Deming circle of management: planning, doing, checking, and acting. So the checking point is in Mongolian government is almost absent. So because there's no absent, we cannot act on that. We cannot fix it. So as a result, the sort of wrong practices were going as long as that government was existing. First factor, no checking. Second factor, no clear independent auditing. I mean the first part. Second and major issue is if this current political power will go a lot into the details, they will find many companies that belong to this political camp, and that will have a problem. So I'm not sure how deep they will go to the problems.
Right.
Because if they go deeper and deeper, they will have more problems across two political parties.
They will put themselves in trouble.
So how much they will be allowed to go deeper.
Right.
So it's a political commitment, which in this case of making justice, making clear, is always, we are missing in Mongolia. Political will is always there if you go and borrow money. And unfortunately, that borrowed money, when its time comes to pay, the people who borrowed are disappearing. That's the situation we have in Mongolia with our public asset.
Interesting point that if you look at the number of projects that DBM gave money to, there's affiliation is across the political spectrum. So I agree that they might not would want to go deep, but this working group is now going to create more sub-working groups to investigate the individual loans, each of them.
I don't believe they can go properly on that, because the reason we have just now, 2 minutes ago, decided, and also because this malpractices, as any normal bank that borrow money to lend money to customer, they should have a very proper feasibility plan, business plan of the company, and they have to watch them regularly, visit them on time. And because this is absent, there were several big loans they were given without any sort of requirements. And now, when the time comes, in certain cases, they have taken money for 70% only of the agreed money. They borrowed probably an asset, but they don't have current capital, and they need it. So maybe they ask every project, they're just staying because it was not enough money given as agreed. The other thing, I think, it is not isolated case, the development bank. All government, political and economic institutions who are dealing with money have seen problems. In particular, we should make clear that a central bank had borrowed a lot of money after printing. 3.8 trillion tugriks were given under so-called discounted mortgage rate, 8%, even 5%. And a lot of money was given to support construction sector supply part.
Under the price stabilization.
Yeah, under many stabilization programs, which is impossible. And there were a lot of money was given. Now it's an issue, I mean, how much of this money were going in a correct way? If there is any plundering, if there was any malfunctioning, if there was any conflict of interests, we should check it. And if it is not, we should clearly state that there is a no, the sort of malpractices in this big $3.8 trillion tugriks loan that central bank, previous central bank, was given to the businesses. And if, again, the same issue, if you go deeper, and at a certain level they may not go deeper, because then they will find the same actors on two sides of political spectrum.
Right. Unfortunately, we're running out of time, but I think we have to leave the fourth topic for another day. Deflation is obviously a big problem, and we, as I mentioned in the beginning, this is the second month in a row we have deflation. One thing I wanted to mention on the DBM topic is one scary development was just last Friday or Thursday, the Mongolian Anti-Corruption Agency arrested the former CEO, Mukhbat. He's an educated guy, but my fear is that he might be made the scapegoat for all of this troubles at DBM.
Well, many similar cases are there in the country. A lot of young people were the scapegoats. goats, and that the real the owners of all these bad deals are staying in the
Right.
remaining. I wish it is not the case anymore,
Right.
and it should not be, by the way.
Should be the case as well.
So let's complete our task
Okay.
today, and we would like to thank you, our audience today, and we have been also doing it with Facebook live streaming. Hopefully you have seen non-Mongolian speakers all around the world. And please be with us next time again at this time on Sunday night. And thank you very much for watching. Have a good evening.
Have a good evening, everyone.